Hello, Brian Hogg here, and I want to give a quick demo on how you can take a WordPress plugin and make sure that it's translatable for other languages. So the first thing is make sure that your plugin header has a text domain entry, and you want this to be a unique string. And if you have a free version, like this is a pro version, but if you have a free version, you want to make sure that that matches the slug of your plugin. So in my case, it'll be the events calendar shortcode pro, without the pro. So my pro version will match the free version and just all have the same text domain. So this is the text domain that I'm going to use throughout the plugin. And let's look at some examples of how you would add the necessary functions. So I did kind of start up here using this _e function, which makes this string translatable and also echoes out the result. So I do need to, though, add in the text domain as the second parameter and do it that way. The problem with having just _e is that a translator could, in theory, translate the string and add some random HTML into it, kind of like, script, and then you're echoing that script, which is potentially malicious, to your user's screen. So really, you should use something like maybe echo escape HTML, and then also having a double underscore there. So now we're escaping the output to make sure it's free and clear of any HTML, or at least output it as kind of raw entities. Or there is a function to actually combine that function together and do something like escape HTML double underscore and just do it all in one function, so it'll escape any HTML that's in that string and also run it through the translation. So I can continue to do this with any strings that I haven't already translated or marked as translatable. So I can do stuff like this. Again, add that same text domain as the second parameter. And I just keep on going with all the strings that I have and add in those translations. Some more complex examples. So say you have these default values, like for example here, you've got saying that the default is false. Now that's an English word, but we don't want it to be translated because it's literally the word false or true as the parameter in the shortcode. So what we can do is first add in our same escape HTML function there, wrap that around. But now let's replace false with %s, which denotes a string, and then wrap the whole thing in this sprintf function. So what sprintf does is take the first parameter, and then any further parameters will replace things like this %s in the string. So we've got this whole string, it's translated, the translation will still have that %s, and then as our second parameter to sprintf, we can put something like false. So now someone can come in, translate it, everything around the word false, but the actual literal word false will stay the same. We can then use the same technique in things like links. So if I go down to the bottom, I've got this kind of link to promote the pro version within the free, and you can see here it's got like a link, and then also some text within that link, obviously, and some HTML around it. So there's a few ways you can handle this kind of translation. There's this function called WPKSES, or kisses, a lot of people will say, where you could do something like WPKSES, and then just use the regular underscore function. So it won't escape the HTML, but this WPKSES will allow only certain HTML tags and attributes to be within that string. So, I mean, you could either have that whole URL be in the translation string or replace it with a %s and then wrap this whole thing in another sprintf, and then as the second parameter to that, have that URL. So then that way the URL isn't included within the translation string. So it's definitely a lot of steps. It's basically taking the string, translating it, verifying that there's no malicious HTML and we only allow a link, with WP KSES, and then finally using sprintf to replace that %s with a link that we want. So the cleaner way, I think, to do this is instead of using this WP KSES function for just something like a link, instead use that escape HTML __ function that we were using before. Still wrap it in the sprintf because we're going to want to insert that link. But instead of just inserting the link, let's insert the full A tag through sprintf. So if we go over to our link, let's actually take out the whole link. So that's the whole HTML of the beginning part of that link. Put a %s, and then also take out that last half of the link and put a %s here. So now I'm going to end my translation string, put in the text domain that we've been using before. So this is our translation function with escape HTML __. And now finally, we're going to use sprintf to replace these two %s placeholders first with the HTML of the first part of our link. So that's the href with the URL inside of it in our target blank. And then the second part will be the end of our link tag. So now this bracket ends the sprintf, and then we close off the PHP tag. So you can see again, we're echoing out the result of sprintf, which is going to take the translation string, which has our %s within it, at the beginning and end of our link text, and then replace that with the beginning and end HTML of the actual link. So now within the translation program, when someone's translating it, they're going to see just English letters and use %s for the link instead of a bunch of HTML inside of it. So those are the pretty common examples of things that you'll do when you're translating your plugin or preparing it for translation. And now you can just keep going through the rest of your plugin and get all of those strings that you have inside of it ready for translation.